congratulatory remarks because you guys rock. You're awesome. Summer Break Cafe rocks, rock, rock. And we are so excited and thankful to you guys for what all you did last summer. You did a fantastic job, and I know that it wasn't easy. You all were out there while we were in here. You were out there on the front lines feeding the children. I mean, in the midst of everything that was going on, and we don't take that for granted. And I know a lot of you all, because we know we're not in a vacuum, what was going on, or what still is going on with COVID and all that. And some of you all's lives were touched by that personally. Mine was. So I'm sure many of y'all's lives were too. And I do pray and hope that you didn't lose any loved ones, but chances are you did. I did. So we don't take that lightly that you were out there trying to feed the children. And I'm actually about to get teary over here while I'm thinking about that, because that was a phenomenal job that you guys did. So there are some numbers up on the screen for you. The total number of meals that we served was 20,593,474 meals. That is phenomenal. The meals served by you guys was 1,931,157. We had a total of 1,057 sites. 546 of those sites were operated by you guys. 511 were operated by school districts. And we had a total of 54 sponsors. Normally we have anywhere from 65, we've had as many up to 77. But because of COVID, what has been going on, a lot of the sponsors could not operate because they were not open. So you guys, we were down about 20 sponsors, and you guys served all of those meals. So that is to be commended. We had 34 nonprofit sponsors, which are you all, and we had 20 school district sponsors. So again, I say hats off to you all. Thank you so much. I give you a hand, you give yourselves a hand. You all did a phenomenal job, and we really, really, really appreciate that. I'm going to go over a couple of points now, and then after which Pearl is going to actually take over and give you all some information. So can you all see the document okay? Is it large enough for you? You can take your off mute and say something or type it in the chat.
Yes, I can see it.
Yes.
City of Charleston can see it.
Okay. All right. So Summer Break Cafe, and we didn't tell Stanley to do this, but he's actually, let's put the camera, Stanley, put your camera on again and model that shirt for us. That's our new name, and that's our new logo. And that's those are some of the shirts, the shirts that we have. And we did ask you guys to give us the number of shirts. We set up to 7. We might can squeeze out 10 for your administrative staff. Now, if you have not responded to Atlantis, and which her name equals the last name, her email is SA-Sequel. So if you have not responded to her, did you all get the information requests from her? Do you have her email address? Atlantis, put your email address in chat. So if you have not requested shirts, please do so. We want you all to have them as a thank you. And then also we want you all to take a picture with your group and send it to us with your shirts on. That's the way of promoting. Put it on your Facebook page or your website, that this is your Summer Break Cafe team. We want to promote Summer Break Cafe. We're going to start promoting it even now throughout the year on up into summer, because we want people to know that that's our new name. We came up with the name because it is summer break for the children. And normally we're serving meals in the summertime, right? Well, last year we served meals all year round, it seems like, but normally it's May through August. So we came up with summer break because it's the students' summer break. And then cafe is because they normally are served meals at school in the cafeteria. They are served meals during the summertime at site, but that's their cafe. So that's the name Summer Break Cafe. So again, make sure you email Atlantis if you do not have your shirts. So we're going to be sending out a survey about the campaign that was actually conducted this summer. how many of y'all, you can put in the chat or raise your hand, heard the commercial, saw the TV, or saw any Facebook postings? We want to make sure that you heard something about Summer Break Cafe. So we're going to, Alan is shaking his head, no, well, that is not good. So we're going to send out a survey to find out who all heard it, or, you know, where was it aired, and see what we need to do better for this coming summer. So please, when you get the survey, make sure you respond. It'll probably go out in the next few weeks. So please make sure you give us feedback. Again, we want to be proactive, and that's the name of the game, being proactive. We don't want to wait until summer comes to start talking about the program. We don't want you guys to wait until summer is upon you to talk about the program. We want you to get started earlier. And that's the name, a theme for us this summer, being proactive. I hope you all have already reached out to your sites and thanked them for participating and have gathered information and feedback from them. If you have not done that, please do, because a thank you goes a long ways. So do that. Review your meals that you served at each site last summer and see, you know, chances are you serve way more than you normally do because of all the flexibilities we had in place. I don't know what those are going to be like this coming summer because, you know, we don't, what's going on in the earth right now. We see what's going on. We don't know what's going to be by the summertime. So USDA is kind of waiting, I think, for a while to let us know if there are going to be any waivers and what the flexibilities are going to be. But for now, we are going forward as if it's going to be traditional summer, like it was before the waivers. But as soon as we find out anything different, we'll let you know. So, but do review your, you know, what meals you serve and such. Any challenges that were had at the sites, make sure you know you get all that information. And then make sure you're looking at enhancing your meal quality for the summer. Something that you're going to do differently next summer than you did last summer. You know, add more, maybe add some fresh fruits and vegetables, maybe add a hot meal, or just something you're going to do differently this summer to try to increase your food quality for this summer for the children. We're going to have, last summer, you all know, last year, you know, we did a procurement kind of training. It was kind of fast. It was right before summer almost started. So we don't feel like we gave you the best time to prepare. So we're going to revisit that. We're going to revisit it early enough so that you can get things in place for summer. And it takes a while to get this done correctly. So we're going to revisit that. As a matter of fact, you can probably write down, save the date. You'll be getting more information. November 9th and 10th, just save those 2 dates. We will give you information the next week or so, exactly which date, where, time, and such. So that's hot off the press, November 9th and 10th. Just save those dates and you'll get more information about that. And we're going to be going over other topics as well, things that we feel like, you know, would be good for you guys to know about and to get information on, like meal planning and like budgeting and like different topics like that. And we're actually asking you on that survey to give us some feedback on what topics you would like to have more information on, whether it's marketing or whether it's, you know, meal counting or whatever. So just kind of, you know, let us know what those things are and we'll make sure we integrate those. We want to make sure we're tailoring information to what y'all's needs are and not just giving you a bunch of information. Okay, let's see. Another thing we want to find out is, and you can tell me in the chat if you feel comfortable with doing that. You can email me, or we're also going to send out an evaluation form. Now, I know, again, you know, COVID is still around, it's very prevalent, but we want to find out, because I know if y'all are like me, you're kind of zoomed out, how comfortable you would be with in-person small, so we can space out kind of meetings. And of course, following the CDC guidelines, the DHEC guidelines, very, 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 very closely. So just let me know what your feelings are about that. Again, if you feel comfortable putting in the chat, you can do that. If you feel better emailing me, you can do that. But we're also going to send the evaluation form and you'll be able to tell us on that as well. And we do need to know that quickly because, again, we're trying to plan something for next month. So we need to know which route we need to go to have that meeting. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so now receiving federal funds, all y'all do because you participate in this program. And you may be participating in some other programs that are federally funded as well. So you know, with federal funds, there is a lot of responsibility, a lot of red tape, a lot of strings, a lot of supporting documentation. And it's the same with us. You got to make sure you have your supporting documentation to support the funds and where they're going. And we, of course, are the agency that administer the Summer Break Cafe. So we're the ones who are, handling that. And USDA is looking at us to make sure that the integrity is there and all that. So make sure that, that it's kept, things are kept the way they should be, and that we can actually visually see that. Like when we look at your bank statements or look at your financial documents and stuff, we should easily see where the money is going in for your claims when you get reimbursed and where it's going out. And if you're saying that you have X number of dollars left over, then we should be able to easily follow the money. And you should be able to do that too. So in saying that, we cannot require you have a separate account because USDA, doesn't say they have to be done. However, we highly encourage it because it's easier if you had a separate account and nothing's there but your Summer Break Cafe funds. But if you are using another account, we should still be able to easily identify where those funds are flowing in and out, and you should be able to do so as well. So just give that some thought. Let's see. And the last thing is, and Carl is going to take it from here when I finish with this part. The year-end reconciliation form, I don't know how many of you all have already turned that in. I think only a few. But we want to make sure that you are doing that correctly. So this bulk of the meeting is going to be about that. We've gotten a few of them in. I think Carl's looked at some. Some, has some little small things that need to be tweaked, and I don't know about others. But after you've had this meeting, you can go back and look to make sure you have it correct. We'll be looking as well, and if we need you to do some adjustments, we'll let you know. But that is required. We have to have that because you're a nonprofit. That means you should be operating as a nonprofit. Not saying that you shouldn't have monies left over, but you shouldn't have tons of it left over because the money is supposed to be going back into the program to enhance it. First of all, enhance your food quality. That's because it's a food program, right? We don't want you to enhance your staff if your food is not. So you should be spending a certain percentage on food, and the higher percentage should be on food. So that's the first thing you want to do with any excess funds you have left over is increase your food quality. And then all those other things that will increase and enhance the program. So that's why we need the year-end reconciliation statement to see the amount of excess funds you have left over, and then have information about how you're going to spend those funds. We need specific information. It can't be just just enhance the program. Well, how are you going to do that? Are you going to enhance the food by adding more fruits and vegetables? Are you going to add another hot meal day? Or what are you going to do specifically? So whatever you say, we should be able to look in 2022 to see that now we won't be able to see that probably dollar for dollar, but we'll be able to see some of the dollars, and a pretty good estimate of the dollars you spent to do what you said you were going to do with excess funds. So yeah, and if you were operating another child nutrition program and you say you're going to use the funds for that, which you can, we should be able to easily see that too. Like if it's CACFP and the funds are going to be used there, we should be able to see how much money you have that was transferred over to your CACFP program. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Any questions about anything I've said? Any comments? All right, great. If not, I know you probably have heard Carl maybe directly, one-on-one. He may have gone over some of the stuff with you guys or as a group, but we felt like it was befitting to go over it again because it's just important. We want you all to plan ahead, look at your budgets ahead, and start being proactive. So hopefully this will help you get there. Okay, take it away, Carl.
Good morning. Can everyone see the screen that I have?
Yes.
Thank you. And I want to say good morning to each and every one of you again. And what we want to be reviewing today is the end of year summary reconciliation form that you're going to be submitting, and also hopefully another way or an easier way that you are able to keep this information in one place. And the reason for this form is we're just want to get a bird's eye view of how you financially manage your program and what areas we need to continue to work on and to help you get there. Okay, and this is the form that we will be sending in. As you heard earlier, Ms. Menders said we changed our name, so this form should read FBC, Summer Break Cafe, Annual Year-End Budget Summary Reform. And what that entails is I'm going to do this in kind of a way that may take some time, but if you have any questions while I go through it, just ask them and we'll see if we can get them answered. I'm going to take everything line by line, as if no one know or have ever done this form before, so we can all get it right and all be on the same page. First, on line 4, we have the institution name, the agreement number, the federal ID number, the program year, the number of sites, and the version of the form. Line 5 and 6, you will see the institution name, the FS number. And if you don't know what the FS number is, you can always find it on your sponsor application. You can find your federal ID number on your W-9. And the program year that we operated, which is 2021. And the number of sites that we operated this year was 4. And the version of the form is going to be the original one that you send in, or if we have to send it back and you have to amend it, and then you would circle amended form. If the first form that you send is going to be your original one, and then the second or the third or fourth one that you have to send in is going to be the amended form.
Hey, Carl, if you have a phone up on the screen, I cannot see it.
Do I have a phone number?
No. Do you have the form on the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I'm saying. This is Pam with Serenity. I cannot see it. The only thing I can see is your initials.
Can everyone else see the screen, or it's just Pam?
I can see it. I can see it.
I can see it.
I can see it.
I don't know how else we can.
You all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not sure, Pam. It may be just an individual thing. Carl, can you email it to her, maybe?
Yeah, I can. Atlantis.
Yes.
Can you go into the old drive and pull that form and email it to her? Pull that.
And I was to Pam Perry, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
no problem.
And she'll email it to you, Pam, and you can just follow along from the paper.
Okay.
Okay, we have line 8, which is going to be your actual revenue that you're getting for that calendar year, which is 2021. Line 10 through line 9 will be your prior year excess fund. We want to encourage you to put if you have if you had previous year excess funds, or if you had a previous year deficit, you want to put those numbers there, that amount there. On this particular form, our sponsor, we had a prior year $12,524.85 excess funds. So even if you had a deficit of 10,000 or a deficit of 5,000, we need to know that, because we need to maybe there's some areas that we can work on to help you get to where you can balance the budget. Line 10 through 22 is is your reimbursements, excuse me, line 10 through 21 is your reimbursements for the months that you're operating. In this case, this sponsor operated June and July only because of the fact that they had to cut off because school started a little earlier for them and they could not operate it in August because school had already started back. And that's something else you want to take a look at it when when you're doing your budget for August. You want to make sure that you budget for August up until the first day of school and operate up until that point. And line 22, you will have your other program income, any other income that comes into your program from other sources. And we want you to list that also. And what that is going to do is compile your program, your total program income for that program year. And in this situation, because of the $12,524.85 and the $37,948.55 and the $24,979.75, there was a program income of $75,453.15 for this particular sponsor. And next, we're going to go into the administrative and operational expenses on how they spent those funds that they received. If you have any questions, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry for speaking up. This is Vanolia Jordan at Kings Court. I'm not able to chat, but I have a question about that total from all of our federal funding. Is that for other funding that is just related to our food program, or would that be everything? Like if we run the ABC program and other federal funding, would that be a total of everything that the organization gets?
Now, this is only for summer food because this is the only program that we will be concerned about. And that's why you want to kind of keep those funds separate because, because of the summer food, that's the only funding that we're looking at when we come out to review. Okay.
Hi, this is Misty with the Low Country Food Bank. I have a question on the other program income. What other income would there?
That could be like, donations or anything like you have someone donating toward your summer food program.
Okay. Thank you.
And any other type income that could come in for that program that's other than donations or anything like that. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Line 24, as we said, we're going to get into the administrative and operating expenses on how they broke this down and spent those funds. On line 26, you have column A, which is your budgeted cost, and column B, which is your actual allowable cost. Line A, these are actually, this is your budget. You want to mirror this budget directly from your sponsor application. Whatever is on your sponsor application should mirror what you have here. And in this case, you can see that that their salaries and fringe benefits was $55,280, and of that $5,280 they budgeted, they actually spent $5,200. The same thing with rent and office space, office supplies, administrative mileage, bookkeeping and accounting, printing, postage, telephone, any line item that you have in your sponsor application, you want to list that line item here and give us the exact total of your budgeted costs for 2021 and your actual allowable cost for 2021. Okay. And next we have our operational expenses. First we have our food costs with vended, and then our food costs self-prep. And why I kind of do it this way is because some sponsors are are vended, some are self-prep, some are vended and self-prep. So you want to be able to differentiate between what you're spending on vended food and what you're spending on self-prep if you're vended and self-prep. Okay. And I just give an example of vended and self-prep. If you go to a Subway on Friday and get a full meal from Subway to give to some of your sites, now that becomes a vended meal because you're getting a full meal from Subway. Even if your application said that you are a self-prep sponsor, but now you become a vended and self-prep sponsor because you're getting a full meal from Subway. Now, if you go to Subway and just get sandwiches, but you add milk and the other components to that, that is a self-prep meal. Okay, and you will see that here. This is a self-prep sponsor totally. They budgeted $16,259.59, and they actually spent $17,678.06. And you would pull this information directly from your sponsor application, your budgeted cost directly from that application. And at the end of the summer, when you have looked over your general ledgers and everything and see what you actually spent, and you're going to put that amount there in the actual allowable cost. And here you will get a budgeted total and a actual total. And then what we did here was took your budgeted cost minus the actual allowable cost and give you an example of how your program did for that summer. In this particular case, this particular sponsor was $719.75 over budget. But it's not, that's not a bad, that's not something that's really bad because they're actually doing really good. And the next line, 53, your total program income minus your total allowable expenses equal excess minus program income after expenses. So what we do is take this line here, and this form is already set up to pre-calculate all this information for you if all the formulas are in the right place. You had a total program income of $75,000. They spent $35,557 in expenses, and so after expenses we had a $39,895 overage. This is excess funds, and this $39,895.73 should go here for 2022. And line 55 says unused reimbursements will be used for next year's summer food program service program. Please attach a detailed plan of how the funds will be used. If you're going to participate in 2022 and use those funds for your next year's summer program, you want to check that box and attach a detailed plan of how the funds will be used. Line 56 is the unused reimbursement will be used for another child nutrition program. You want to name that program, and you also want to attach a detailed plan on how that money is going to be spent on your next year's program, because we want to see that review that if we should have to come out to do a review of how you spent. We need to see how you spent the summer food funds for the another child nutrition program and how much of it you spent. And if you're not returning to the summer food program next year, you would check that block. Okay. And on line 59 says, I certify that the above is a correct accounting of disbursements of summer food service program funds, and all documentation for the above information is on file and available for review. Even though you're sending us a snapshot of this information but you should have documentation to back up this if someone should come out to review your financial information on file. And you would have the signature of the person, the sponsor, director, or who managed the program, and the signature of the person that does the financial auditing for you. Okay, and then you would sign it and date it and send it to us. Now, also, this particular sponsor, they kind of did a really good plan here, and I like this one, so I'm going to use theirs. This is the detailed plan for the use of excess funds, excess program income for 2022. This is how they're going to use. This is how they're going to use this $39,895.73. So our plans for the excess funds are to use them to totally fund next year's summer food service program without having to receive any advances or loans as we have to do in the past. So what they're going to do is take those funds, instead of asking for advances or going to take out loans, they're going to use those funds now to fund that program up front to get them started. Now, we will be purchasing more equipment to help store and transport food or meals. Some of this equipment will be, but not limited to, more insulated bags for cold and hot food transport, more coolers, more PPE equipment if necessary, and anything else we need. We will rent at least one more vehicle, maybe two, to help ease the transport of meals and day-to-day errands. We'll also hire more personnel, staff to help with food prep and meal delivery. If things go back to normal, then more site supervisors will be needed. That means there will be adding on more sites. We will reach out to at least one more local restaurant to see if they can participate in helping us to incorporate another hot meal. So they're going to invest in food quality, which is generally more expensive than cold meals. We'll increase our budget for more advertising to better get the word out. So they're going to do more and better advertising for the program. Incorporate more flyers, more banners, more media, press releases. Also, if allowed, we would like to raise the stipends for the entire staff. Now, stipends is for federal funded programs. It's not allowed. It has to be like a salary, or it can't be. You can't pay them stipends. So we want to strict that word out of this document. Okay. Finally, if there are any unforeseen emergencies, expenses that may occur, then we will use the funds for that as well. And each budget should have a contingency, an emergency fund for anything that is out of the norm that arises. So this sponsor has a good plan for next year for those $39,895.73. But when we come out to, go out to review, we have to see what amount he placed in each one of these line items and how he spent those funds toward those line items. Okay. Is there any questions that anyone have? We have another form that we want to kind of go over before 10. If there's any questions that we can answer, or if you can't answer them, we'll take them down and get back with you. So hearing none. Can everyone see this form, this Excel sheet?
Yes, yes.
Okay. What we have done here at the Summer Break Cafe is we have kind of extended this Excel sheet to kind of capture your whole summer and put it in one big snapshot. So when you look at this, or when we look at this, we can get a bird's eye view of how your summer program done, and it's an easier way. I think it's an easier way to kind of do it, because we want to encourage you to use this Excel sheet. Now, I know most of you have your own general ledgers and your own programs that you use. But if you also use this as a backup, it will make it a lot easier for us when we come out to review, and we will spend a lot less time with you. First, we have our cover sheet, which just contains the sponsor's name, their agreement number, and the year that we are looking at. It's 2021. Here you see the prior excess funds for year 2020, which is $12,064.85. And this particular sponsor did not operate. They did not operate June, January, February, March, April, May. But they operated in June and July, and they did not operate in August, September, October, and November. They didn't take out any advances for this year, but they had a reimbursement in June for $20,165, and a reimbursement in July for $23,203. So that, and that's their total reimbursement, total income for 2021. The prior year expenses, June's reimbursement and July reimbursement. And here, what we are trying to do is trying to capture your day-to-day operations of how you're spending the funds that you say that you're spending for summer food. Here we see we did not operate in January, we didn't operate in February, we didn't operate in March, April, May, June. Now, the reason that we extended this for 12 months is because of the pandemic. Usually, this form would only encompass June, July, and August, because that's a normal traditional summer. If we can ever get back to the traditional summer, then we can reduce or cut down on this form, for lack of all that detail. Here we have our organization's name, our agreement number, and our FS number. And you want to put that on each and every one of your sheets that you use. If you're going to operate June, July, and August, you want to put it on each one of your sheets. Then we have the date of the actual when the actual expense occurred. We have the payee or the vendor name that you paid it to. This could be anything here. It could be whether you paid by debit, whether you paid by check, whether it was an invoice, whether it was a bank draft. You want to list that information here. And like we were saying earlier, if you're a vendor sponsor, you want to place your vended food totals here. And if you self-prep, you want to place your self-prep totals here. And next we have our operational salaries, operational supplies and non-food, transportation of food, utilities, equipment, advertising, and others. These line items here, where we have your food purchases throughout your operation and administrative costs, you want to have that to mirror. Excuse me. You want to have that to mirror exactly what your program expenses are, and you will get that information from your budget that you upload into your sponsor application. Because if you don't mirror what you have on your budget, this form is not going to really do you any good, because it's going it's going, your line items are going to be off. Okay. And next, June and July is just a capture of what you did in July. And August, we didn't operate. September, we didn't operate. October, we did not operate. And November, we did not operate. And in December, we did not operate. And now here it just gives you a snapshot of what your income is for your program for the year. You know, we had that $12,064 for excess funds. And once you enter this information up front and on these pages, it's going to compile here for you. So it's like a one and done tool. Once you enter that information, it's done, and you have your whole summer captured, and you don't have to go back and do this at the end of the summer. Your reimbursements for the summer, you see that we had $43,068. And other income, we had none. And your totally for the summer, we had income of $55,432.85. And we derived at that from the prior excess funds from 2020 and the reimbursements for 2021. And that gave us a total program funds of $55,432.85. And this gives you kind of a snapshot of your administrative and operational costs. We had operational, we spent $29,106.82. Administratively, we spent $7,114.48. And totally, we spent $36,221.30, minus our reimbursement, and that left us with a balance of $7,146.70 in our bank for next year's program expenses. And how we get to this number, we just take our prior year expenses minus minus prior year income, excess income minus our expenses, and that gave us a year-to-date balance of $19,211.55 that we can carry over into the next year. Now, this particular thing is this a budget tracking tool that kind of helps you along the way, because if you're in the middle of July or in the middle of June and you want to know how much funds that you have in your budget for June left for the year, you can go to this form and it's going to give you an idea of what you have left to spend on that particular line item. This particular line item here was salaries and fringe benefits for $6,500. We spent $32.94 in June, $32.94 in July, and we kind of went over our budget by $88. But when you go over your budget, you can always look in other line items to pull that amount back into perspective. Okay, and it's been just a bird's eye view to give you exactly how you're doing during the summer months, and all this information is going to compute or compile over when you're entering that information up front. Okay, and this information here you're going to have to kind of enter it manually, because I'm yet to find a way to pull that information directly from the your sponsor application. So you would have to go to your sponsor application and enter this information manually. Whatever line items you have on your budget on your application, those line items need to exist here, and in order for the budget to work properly for you. And then with that said, and here with the form that we just went over, everything is going to compile over for you. And at the end of the summer, you're going to have your end of year summary form already done for you. All you got to do is submit it to us, because you're going to be compiling this data forward every time you make a transaction. Okay, and here we see that we have the total program excess funds of the $19,211.55, and that goes here for 2022. Those will be the excess program funds from 2021. And remember, you need to put in that detailed report of how you are going to spend these $19,211.55 for 2022. And we are going to get everybody one of these forms who wants to use them. And but we encourage everybody to use them, because I think it makes life a lot easier for everybody. Because time is, when summer happens, time is something that we don't have, to spend on things like this. So we need to find something that would better help us. And some of you may already have programs that does this for you. But those of you who don't and need this, we'd be more than happy to get one to you. And if you need help with it, then you can give us a call and we can certainly help you out with it. Is there any questions or comments, anything that we have? Okay, hearing none, if you want the form and want to kind of play with it over the winter break, certainly email us and we can get it to you. And I want to thank you all for listening to me go through this detailed items here. And I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Mender.
All right, thank you, Carl. Great job. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope that this was helpful. For you all who have large entities, for instance, governmental entities and such, I know a lot of times your finance department does a lot of your, your things, but honestly, I would suggest that for this program, because you get all the receipts that's pertaining to Summer Break Cafe, if you were to track your own stuff, right? Even though you're a larger organization, have to keep up with the funds for everything, then you are someone who you feel is most, the correct person to do this, that you keep up with this stuff. So that way, when we want it and need it, we can have it. And you also will know what's going on with Summer Break Cafe. Now, like Carl said, we're not concerned about your other federal programs. We're not concerned about the other programs that your organization run. But for us, we need information specifically on Summer Break Cafe. So you could do this for us. And then whatever you have to do as a company overall, then you give them what they need, if that makes sense. Does that make sense, Stanley? Because I know you're kind of in that situation. So, so I didn't want you to think that it was futile to listen to this because you have a finance department, because you really could do this role. I don't mean you particularly, but someone in the Summer Break Cafe who have a larger organization that's a governmental entity or a university or something, somebody within the Summer Break Cafe team that runs that program on the administrative staff could handle this part for just Summer Break Cafe. Is that reasonable? Am I thinking off the block, or does that sound like something that, yes, you have access to? Because you get the receipts, yes. I guess you have access to that. You can get copies of that, give what you need to them, but you could keep up with your own stuff for Summer Break Cafe. Okay. And I think that would make it easier for you, because you'll know what's going on, and then make it easier for us because we'll know what's going on, and we don't have to wait, for your finance department to give you something or whatever, because you have the receipts and everything that you need to tabulate this. Okay. So give some thought to that. Now, we do need that year-end form if you have not sent it in. or if you need to review it to make sure it was correctly done. We're extending it. It was supposed to be September the 30th, but we extended it to November the 1st. So if you can go ahead and work on that after hearing this presentation and get that into your consultant, that would be great. And then we'll take a look at it. And if we have any questions about it, they'll get back to you and let you know if there's any questions about it. Again, don't forget to let me know, either email me later, call me, tell your consultant about the in-person option for meetings. And let's see what else I had to say. I think that was it. Again, I appreciate each one of you all for participating, and hopefully you're planning on participating in 2022. And I look to hear from you so we can go ahead and start planning the final details for the meeting that's going to be on November 9th, 10th. So to save that date, you wouldn't come to both, of course. And we're trying to look at maybe doing it in 2 different places so that you have an option of where to come, one here in Columbia and then somewhere else, so that it'll make you a little easier, to getting to the location. Any questions, comments, good, bad, or indifferent?